and welcome to Mr. Randy's Wine and Spirits. I am Mr. Randy, and welcome to another episode of Off the Rip. Today we're going to be talking about a Scotch. Now this is the Macleods focus, the Macleods Island, which is very unusual because nowhere does it say it's an Islay, but it does give you a description of it being a peaty Scotch. So this does come in at 43% alcohol by volume. Mr. Randy paid, I think, a little over 40. Let me just double check my reference here. Yes, it was just under $45 for this bottle. I've been looking at this for many a months. This has a line. This has a highland. This has a lowland. It has a space side and it has an island. Not an Islay, an island. So here's the island. I figured this was the closest I was going to get to an Islay Scotch in this series of the Macleods. Now there is quite a bit of history and story behind this Macleods, but that's going to have to wait for a later video. That's going to be the full review when we get about halfway. Right now, right here, off the rip, we're going to rip this open. So if you're new to the channel, hello and welcome. For all you returning viewers, always good to see you again. So what is an off-the-rip video for Mr. Randy's? So it is a 3-part series on a whiskey review. Cork pop. Let's get that on the... Oh, very nice. That's actually a nice looking cork. So we're going to go ahead and get a pour on here. Glug, 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 glug. So we let that open a little bit. So part 1 is called Off the Rip. That's where I get it home, I rip it open, I have the first pour, and I share my first expressions, which, I'm sorry, I'm a little dry and a little wacky. It is close to the end of the year where it gets a little bit dry and things aren't so viscous with the body. I'm sorry about that. Anyhow, so part 1, Off the Rip, I get it home, crack it open, first pour, share my first impressions with you, and that's where we're at. Second part is where halfway we're going to give it enough time and space to open up. Maybe the characters change, maybe they improve, maybe they get worse. We'll have to wait and see. The third part is going to be where we get to the final pour, and the final pour is the final pour, maybe the final 2 pours. We're going to find out if the last pour is as good as the first pour or where it might fall in between. So Macleods Island. The island. It looks pretty nice. All the information that I have currently, I've already shared with you, is everything we got off the bottle. There's only basically a description, a flavorful description, not much other than it's Chattanooga, Tennessee, where it's distributed through the United States of America. So Macleods Island Scotch. I am getting some smokiness, some peatiness. Mr. Randy's liking this very much. So this was a $35, a little under $35 bottle of Scotch. An Island, so it's got some peatiness, some smokiness. There's a little bit of sweet. I'm thinking tacos. For some reason, this is bringing up tacos. For some reason, I'm thinking tacos. There's a little bit of leg action. Not a whole lot, but there is some pretty decent leg action. Let's go ahead and get it on the palate. Not like most Islay Scotch that I've had before. It's a little lacking. It's a little lackluster. It seems like there's something missing. It's falling a little flat. What is it that it's missing? On the nose, it doesn't hit you quite like it's sea spray. There's not a lot of smokiness. There might be some peat, but there seems like there's a few different characteristics that's missing on that nose. And the palate, pretty much reflects that as well. This is not like your typical Islay Scotch, where it's very peaty, very smoky. It's not horrible. Don't get me wrong on that part. It's actually relatively decent for a Scotch. And coming in at $35 and 43%, it's not too horrible. It's not bad. It's kind of like middle of the road, I would say. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see if we can't work a finish on this. Now, as you can see there is a moderate amount of viscosity. It's got a pretty decent and pretty good like mouthfeel on the low end of the oiliness. So it does give you a nice mouth coating. I'm trying to work this finish. There's nothing like really flash in the pan. There's not a whole lot of upfront sort of flashiness. It's not particularly like hitting the tip of the tongue or the roof of the tongue, the roof of the mouth. There's not a whole lot. It's relatively mild. It's not bad, but there's not a whole lot of anything special to this Scotch as well. Not horrible, but for $35, I mean, the Smoky Scott was like $35 as well. But unfortunately, Mr. Randy only found one of those bottles. Now, there is a cask strength. I think it's got an age statement of 12 years. And that bottle is 70 something, like $80. I wish my price point was a little bit upwards of the $80 price point. But right now, I'm thinking about pushing it to the $70 price point. And this one's only $35. This is actually less than $35 out the door. So for the price point, I think this is relatively good. But if you're looking for something really peaty, really smoky, really sea spray, campfire by the ocean, this is not going to satisfy. If you're looking for a pretty good Scotch, this will definitely fit the bill. But other than that, I pretty much don't understand why it is an island. Other than an island, Islay Scotch. It's not an Islay, it's an island. Macleods. So there is some story behind it, and that's going to come right about here when we get into the full review and give it some time to open up. Maybe it'll smooth out, maybe it'll get balanced. But let us know in the comments, what do you think? Have you seen the Macleods? Have you tasted the Macleods? What's your favorite? And as always, thanks for stopping by here at Mr. Randy's Wine and Spirits. You have a good one.